Hello,
Woo-woo.
hello. Mad Marketing Mums are back 2024.
Yes.
And to kick things off for this year, we thought today we would have a bit of a chat about the evolution of TikTok and what's next for 2024, how the platform has evolved over the past few years, and our recommendations for how you can actually use this to market your small business. So I know that when I first started, TikTok was very much people dancing, lip
hmm
syncing, and lots of really like grainy, low quality,
Yep.
real kind of content. Like it was a bit dark and dingy. People were filming in their basements. What did you see when you first got onto the app? And when
Oh,
when did you first get on?
I first got on. Okay, I remember the moment that I was like, I gotta go and download this app, and it was one of my friends was showing me TikTok, and she showed me this guy with a Daffy Duck puppet singing Beyonce's "Halo" in the Daffy Duck voice, or no, Donald Duck. Sorry, yeah, the one with the blue hat.
Yeah.
And I just lost it. And I went, this is just so unhinged and just left field. I need to go and check out what else is on here.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I got on, I was just fed absolutely anything. So I think I got one of those Charlie D'Amelio videos. I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested. And then I started getting puppies. And yes, of course I'm interested in that kind of stuff. And it was a
Yeah.
lot of, yeah, and it was a lot of like short, sharp, a lot of music trends. And then you could start seeing a lot of dancing and stuff like that. But it has changed since then, big time. There's so many little like micro communities now that there's a lot of like hobbies and that you might not have known that you want to try, or even like things that you had no idea that you could learn about and such. That it's absolutely amazing the way that it evolved. And there's been a lot of things going on in the last like month or two, like a lot of dramas that we are going to go into as well,
So
that are
much
going on with
drama.
TikTok. Yeah.
I love it.
um, yeah. And one thing
And
to point
it's
out, we're going to go over the TikTok trends report that came out in January as well. We're going to touch on a few things that they're saying that this is what's going to be coming up in the year for the channel too. We'll have a link in the show notes so that you can check it out yourself, and get your own insights out of it. And yeah, but I'm floored at just how much it's changed in just the course of 2 years. It's still one of the fastest growing apps on the planet as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was very much, like you say, really like entertainment focused
Mm,
in the beginning. And there was a lot of novelty. I think that's what
yeah.
really sucked us all into the app. The fact that there were these surprising and funny videos and content that we hadn't really seen before. Yeah, that yeah, on anything and everything. I think that's also the key point, right? Like you said, there's all these strange communities that you never knew. Somehow I have recently ended up on Prepper Talk. That's people like planning for the apocalypse and the stuff that they are packing in their bug out bags. I don't know how I ended up there, but there you go. And who knew there's a whole community of people obsessed with prepping for doomsday, which you never would have come across otherwise. Super, super interesting. In terms of content, there, as you said before, lots of dancing and lip syncing and all
Mm,
that type of content. We were pointing, there
a
were
lot
pointing
of.
videos. My first ones were pointing videos, lots of that with trending audio and words popping up on screen as opposed to talking to camera. And there really weren't that many businesses on there. It
No.
was very much just individuals posting content, anything they thought of, anything they saw, like series based entertaining content. So, yeah,
Yeah.
very different to what it looks like today.
Yeah. I think businesses made the assumption that, oh, this is just a bunch of teens that are dancing around. This is not for us. And then there were a few that went on and really honed in on it and showed their brand and their personality so well that it just started almost like a chain reaction. And nowadays, like what McDonald's, Coca-Cola are on there. Some of the biggest brands on the planet are on there trying to really tap into it. I don't necessarily think they're doing an excellent job, but they're on there and they're trying to make their mark. Celebrities hopped on, marketers hopped on, and I feel like there's this saying in our industry that marketers ruin everything. I think celebrities ruin TikTok just a little bit, but marketers certainly have, especially considering ads are now on
Yeah.
TikTok, and I'm getting them fed so badly. which is one thing that I've noticed has really changed in, say, the last year on TikTok. As a creator, I used to not get ads at all. If I created content for TikTok, it's almost as if they rewarded me by not feeding me ads. Yet my husband he doesn't post anything. He would just scroll and he would get fed ads. There's no tomorrow. And say maybe in the last 6 months, even though I'm still creating content and stuff, it's every third post is an ad at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Either an ad or a TikTok shop post or something with an influencer, right? Yeah. There's definitely a lot of that content now flooding the app. I've also noticed that it is a lot more curated as well. So it's looking a bit more like Instagram in terms of video quality, the way that people are presenting to camera.
Yeah.
It's not so raw. It's definitely edited a bit, but we've moved away from that full-blown crazy transition style content where people are like dissolving into a puddle onto the ground and then reappearing on the beach or something like that. There's still some creators making that type of content because it is really cool and expressive, but day-to-day people posting aren't really doing the big transitions, I should say, and like swiping their hands across the camera and things like that anymore. I'm glad we've moved away from that as well.
Yeah, for sure. We mentioned TikTok Shop. You've mentioned the curated content. There's a lot of thought leadership and educational focus. Now, mind you, I think both of us, because of who we are, our feeds get a lot of this. But it's also with longer videos as well. It's really good that you can hunker down into that educational stuff. And as a service provider, I think that's where businesses have really honed in, is showing their expertise in those educational videos and that thought leadership type of content. And then the other thing that TikTok, I guess you could say when TikTok first started, it was like Las Vegas, and it's turning into New York. It's gone from there are no rules to there's an aesthetic that you must adhere to. There's different cultures and stuff like that, but there's party city and then there's sophisticated city. With TikTok, it's also improved. It's evolved with search, where it's really honing in on becoming a search engine. They're actually really using it as a tool because they've realized that they have that audience there that is using it for research. That is using it as its own, not just a social media platform, but is using it to get answers to every question they want. What is it? I think the stat that we've got is 40% of Gen Z or Gen Z, depending on where you are in the world, prefer searching on TikTok and Instagram over Google, which is insane.
We shared that stat back in our Trends and Predictions episode as well. But so interesting. And I don't know about you, but I've actually noticed that I've started doing that too. So going to social media first rather than Google to search for businesses, to search for products and services that I'm actually looking for.
Yeah, and that's actually something that is in the TikTok Trends report. It's one of the trend signals that they've noticed, and that they're saying for 2024, you hone in on search, but give your answers in a creative way. So we're going to go over that a little bit later. The other stat that we've got is 31% of consumers use social media over traditional search engines, like you said. And I don't know if it's maybe because we're addicted to the app, or it's shown to us visually versus having to read an answer. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when you Google something and then you hit the website to see like the full search result, it's not really there. And it's not really what you're looking for.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I love on TikTok the ability you can search, ask a question, and you'll see all these different videos giving an answer, and you can just scroll through them and start looking at the previews of each video until you find the one you're like, yes, they're talking about what I want the answer to. So I think that makes it really easy to seek out those solutions or products or services or answers to your questions, whatever it is that you're searching for. And I suspect it's only going to get better. There's a general move in terms of social media, all platforms, to improve their search because of this change in user behavior and the way that the younger generation are now searching. So I think we can see more, or we can expect to see more in search and keyword development and all of that stuff on TikTok over the next year or so.
For
Now, there
sure,
have
for
been
sure.
some major changes just recently at the time of recording this that I spoke to my students about this yesterday, but these changes are going to have a huge impact on the way that people use TikTok. But of course,
Mm.
as we know, often trends start out on TikTok and then they move over to Instagram. So I wouldn't be surprised if what we see happening here disseminates over on to Instagram. And the first one being that Universal Music pulled its entire catalog. Now, this
Oh
is
yes.
huge. This is insane. So, all of your really popular commercial music tracks are no longer available, and millions, maybe even billions, I don't know, but millions and millions of videos are now muted.
Yep. I'll put a link. I'll have to find the TikTok video, but there's a creator. You might follow her, Krishla, Heather Cox Codes. She's based out of Baltimore. I've actually been following her, and I think we're mutual TikTok friends since the very beginning. She went down the rabbit hole about this whole Universal Music thing. As background, for anyone that has no clue and has been living under a rock or has been on holidays and then ends up having a chest infection or pneumonia like we both did and has just turned off their phones, Universal Music Group is one of the largest music conglomerates in the world. Think Taylor Swift, she's part of it. A bunch of huge artists are part of it. And they all of a sudden, as of I think it's last week, we're recording this on the 9th of Feb. I think it's, the very beginning of February, they just went, we're pulling all of our music from TikTok because TikTok are a bunch of jerks and they just want to get more money for themselves versus for the artists. Now, TikTok was in the middle of negotiations with Universal Music Group because their contract was coming up. And TikTok has responded going, now, hang on, we are always there for artists. How many artists do we know got their big break off of TikTok versus going on to Universal Music Group and getting signed on? Universal Music Group has found some big artists because of TikTok, right? So TikTok were like, yeah, TikTok was like, no, we're trying to have a fair go for artists that are on here and also for our creators to be able to use this music. And more to the point, this is free advertising for you, Universal Music Group. This is going to help your artists chart all the time because you're on one of the biggest social media apps in the world. Like it's been like a very much he said, she said. It's like Real Housewives of music. So Heather Cox Codes has gone on and gone through the rabbit hole because she's actually sick as well with the flu. So she had nothing better to do and went down that rabbit hole and started doing research. And the crux of it is that Universal Music Group signed an agreement with Meta.
It always comes back to Meta.
It always comes back to money and Meta.
Oh my goodness. So that's really interesting because for a long time, Instagram hasn't had the full catalog of music available, at least not on all account types or for all users.
Now, to shake all of the tea out of the teapot also, I commented on that video to her and I said, also who owns 20% stake of Universal Music Group is Tencent. Tencent is, so TikTok is owned by ByteDance. Tencent is ByteDance's biggest competitor.
Aha. Oh, it's all coming out.
Yeah. Now, TikTok has also been doing a push with TikTok Sound On, which is almost like their version of Universal Music Group. It's where artists can upload their music so that they can use it on TikTok. It's almost like its own digital record label. So they've been doing a big push on that as well. So I think Universal Music Group were a bit,
they wouldn't have liked that, obviously.
No, they wanted more of a piece of the pie, and we're just like, that's not cool. That how easy it is for these artists to just go and upload. So they just went, how dare you buy? But they went and signed something up with Meta.